Hello, everyone. This is Dale Cantrell with Breedville Holiness Church in Breedville, Alabama. I want to bring you uh, a little message sermon. I'm going to be in 2 Kings 4. I have mentioned before that I started off when I read the Bible with the New Testaments and Proverbs and Psalms, Ecclesiastes, that kind of stuff, easy reading. And then I went to the Old Testament some, and in the Old Testament, there were some characters that I really loved to read. So basically, I was reading New Testament, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and I read a lot about Elijah and Elijah. Today, it's going to be about Elisha, and I want to read a little bit, hopefully not too long. I'm going to be in the 4th chapter of 2 Kings, and it said, "Now cried a certain woman of the wives of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant, my husband, is dead, and thou knowest thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditors come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen." And Elijah said, "What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in the house?" And she said, "Thy handmaid hath not anything in the house save a pot of oil." Everything that we need is in our house. We have whatever we might not know everything, but we have know enough to make it if it's in there. It's like the woman had the 10 pieces of money and lost one, and she swept the house. So if you'll sweep your house, whatever you need can be in there along with the Word of God. And she said, "Hath not anything in the house save a pot of oil." He said, "Go borrow the vessels abroad of thy neighbors, even the empty vessels, borrowing not a few." Now she's in debt. Now he's wanting her to go borrow some more and get in debt more, seemingly. "And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and pour out into all those vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full." So she went into him from him and shut the door upon her and upon her sons, who brought the vessels unto her, and she poured out. That's another thing. Whatever you got in a house, you have to pour out. I've got 2 little bottles of oil here. So she took, and it came to pass when the vessels were full, she said unto her son, "Bring me yet a vessel." And he said unto her, "There is not a vessel anymore," and the oil stayed. There wasn't any more vessels. So this is oil, 2 bottles. She'd pour in this one. This one was empty and this one was full. Now this one's full and this one's full. And she just kept doing that. And then, "Go sell the oil and pay thy debt, and thou and thy children, and live thou and thy children on the rest." And it fell on a day when Elisha passed to Shunem, that there was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as often as he passed by, he turned in hither to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, "Behold now, I perceive that this is a holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, and I pray thee on the wall, and let us set for him there a bed and a table and a stool and a candlestick. And it shall be when he cometh to us that he shall turn in thither." That reminds me of me and anybody else that's got God. I made him a place in my heart that when he passes by and is close to where I am, that he can come and find something in my heart that he can be pleased with. And he fell on the day that he came thither, and he turned in the chamber and lay there, and he said I think I call it Gehazi, his servant, "Call this Shunammite. And when he called her, she stood before him, and he said unto her, Say now unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for thee? Wouldst thou be spoken to the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, What is it to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily she is old, and she hath no child, and her husband is old. And he said, Call her. And when he had called her, she stood in the door. And he said, About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, Nay, my Lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thy handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a child, at the season that Elijah had said unto her, according to the time of life. Now, I've been a witness to this. There was a lady at our church that her and her husband, they didn't have any children. And they've been trying for about 10 years, went to some medical expert type thing. And one service, a man at our church anointed her with oil, and she had a child, and now they have two. So I believe this. I believe in this. I've seen it happen more than once. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day he went out to his father to the reapers, and he said unto the father, my head. And he said to the lad, carry him to his mother. Now, that's just the way I look at it. I'm a dad. Dads are good. But when a child is sick, there's nothing like their mother. They're the ones that wipes their fevered brow with a cold cloth in that time. A mother is just a special person to a child. My mother was so precious. Carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him, brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and shut the door upon him, and went out. And she called unto her husband, said, send, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I might run to the man of God and come again. And he said, wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It's neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, it shall be well. And she saddled an ass and said to her servant, drive and go forward. Slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. So she went and came to the man of God to Mount Carmel, and it came to pass when the man of God saw her far off, that he said to Gehazi, his servant, behold, yonder is that Shunammite. Run now, I pray, to meet her, and say to her, is all well with thee? It is well. Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with thy child? And she answered, it is well. Her son had just died, and she answered, it is well. We would have moaned and groaned and carried on. I think sometimes about when I get to heaven, if I get to meet Paul, and he says, how was it on earth with you, Brother Dale? And I say, they hurt me bad. They hurt me bad. And he probably say, get out of here, boy. A man that's been in the deep and striped and stoned and left for dead. How am I going to say, it is well? It's well with all of us, if we could just realize that. And when she came to the man of God to the hill, she caught him by the feet, near to thrust her away. And the man of God said, let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her, and the Lord hath hid it from me, and hath not told me. Then she said, did I desire a son of my Lord? Did I not say, do not deceive me? Then he said to Gehazi, gird up thy loins, and take my staff in thy hand, and go thy way, and if thou meet any man, salute him not, and if thou salute him, answer him not again, and lay my staff upon the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, as the Lord liveth, as my soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And she arose, and he arose and followed her. And Gehazi passed on before them, laid his staff upon the face of the child, and there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him, and told him, saying, the child is not awakened. And when Elisha came to the house, behold, the child was dead, and laid upon his bed. And he went in therefore, and shut his door upon them twain, and prayed unto the Lord. And he went up and laid on the child, and put his mouth on the child's mouth, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned in the house, and walked in the house to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon the child. And the child sneezed 7 times. And the child opened his eyes, and he called Gehazi, and said unto the Shunammite. So he called her, and when she was come into him, he said, take thy son. And she went in and fell at his feet, and bowed herself to the ground, and took up her son. I think that's all I'm going to read today. I've been in the 4th chapter of 2 Kings, and I read through the 37th verse. I love to read about Elijah and Elijah, the prophets. This is about the prophet Elisha. And there's some great stories. There's some great lessons in there. I sure want to make room for God in my heart. And he won't come to you if you've got your mind and your heart too full of things. There's no room for him to get in. So we need to clean them both out to the glory of God. This is Dale Cantrell with Meridianville Holiness Church. in Meridianville, Alabama. Hoping that you got something out of this, and if you could comment and let me know if it's helping you or not. Until we do this next time, may God bless you.